come basically Europeans are fancy? How come they have science? How come they are living in riches and happiness? How come we're not? What happened is basically in the 1800s, Islam became a religion to many people. The colonialists found mouthpieces within our own people to propagate their vision, especially when we're failing as a nation.
What could they do to turn the ship around, or was it already too late?
I mean, almost did it. Is that there's either agreement or disagreement within a nation. Historians always say, how come these nomadic tribes came from the desert and took over two humongous millennial empires? But the reason it does is because we have full agreement. This is not a fancy theory, this is a divine revelation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome back to Rewired. I'm your host Abu Ibrahim. And over the past few episodes with our guest Sheikh Osta, we've been speaking about that critical foundational question, which is the one of progress and the role of a shared common vision in a nation's progress. So we spoke about non-Muslim civilizations. We've spoken about our civilization. We've spoken about the difference between, a true foundational shared common vision and false ones. And last time we left off with exploring that first instance in which the shared common vision of Islam and the Ummah faltered a little bit with the first fitna and the loss of Shura. And then after that, we discussed how this led to disagreements over who should be in charge.
Yeah.
And that kind of hits at the foundation of a nation and its integrity. But today, I was curious to continue the discussion on the rest of Islamic history, because we know that the strength of the Ummah and the unity of the Ummah, the progress of the Ummah did not immediately go to zero. We had long periods of prosperity. And you can say that prosperity lasted until the last Khilafah, which was the Ottoman Empire. So my first question is, can you put a date on when Islam as a shared common vision ceased to be our shared common vision? What was the immediate consequence of that?
Yeah, so the minute the shared common vision was totally lost, I would say basically somewhere in the, let's say, 1800s, probably late 1800s, middle 1800s, and that's when basically you have in the capital of the Uthmani Khilafah, Istanbul, and in current day, what is current day Turkey, the Anatolian, let's say, peninsula. You had basically lots of Turks who adopted the liberal ideology and stopped believing in Islam as a system of governance, because they either saw it as tyrannical, unjust, even sometimes maybe some racist and other minorities and ethnicities, due to its really failure in creating a prosperous life.
The failure of the Islamic system in Turkey or in the Ottoman Empire to create a prosperous life?
Yeah, the Ottoman Khilafah, yeah, correct, yeah. I mean, because see, if everybody's happy, look, let's give you a real example. Today, Muslims in the Gulf Arab states, right? They don't have a shared common vision, at least not an ideological one. Not only that, basically, they live in a style that actually contradicts their Islam, right?
Yeah.
But they're happy. Everybody's happy because there's money and there's wealth and there's no rebelliousness.
Yeah.
Because everything is fine. Like they have a happy life, from a desirous perspective. Compare that to even non-Muslim states. Like we said, even if there's no shared vision, or even if there is a shared vision, but if it's not true, it contradicts, creates lots of pains. But again, people are, they're okay in their life. There's no reason to go through more pain, because creating change needs pain. It has to happen.
I know this is kind of a tangent, but what do you do about a society like that's happy and prosperous?
Oh, see, it's not sustainable. It will get to a place where basically, God is going to hit them with calamities, and they'll feel the turmoil, right? They'll feel the pain of it. فَسَادُوا فِي الْبَرِّ وَالْبَحْرِ بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِي النَّاسِ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran. Corruption basically became very common in the lands and in the seas due to what people have done. So when you live in accordance, or in contradiction to the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, things will falter, if not today, tomorrow. You see what I'm saying?
I see. So back to the situation of the Uthmani Khilafah, the situation was not good. The situation was not prosperous, and that created the door for these many Turks, young
Exactly,
Turks,
I
if I can
think the
say.
attraction because
Yeah.
because now the Muslims, the Turks, and the children of the Turks had a model to see that. Oh, look, how come basically Europeans are fancy?
Mm.
How come they have science? How come they're making the next vehicle? How come they're making the next scientific advancements? How come they are living in riches and happiness? How come we're not? And the absence of prosperity, that in itself basically is the result of what we discussed last episode, which is the political chaos that happened with the fitna and the loss of partial common vision within the ummah. Because see, that creates dissatisfaction. See, like what we're trying to explain to the viewer is that there's either agreement or disagreement within a nation.
Yeah.
Okay, just like a little family. If you want to give a family an example, there might be a mother and a father that are always fighting. That's a disastrous home. That's basically literally you're gonna lose your kids. You're gonna go to drugs, go to gangs, do bad stuff. But if there's some differences, there will be some impact.
Yeah.
Okay, so the best families where basically there's full cohesion between the mom and the dad.
Yeah.
Same thing basically within the nation. If there's a full shared common vision across the nation where everybody agrees upon it, well, amazing. People are gonna live. People are gonna prosper.
Yeah.
So what happened after the fitna of Uthman and the fitna between Ali and Muawiyah, radiallahu anhum ajma'in, is that now there is some disagreement. So this little disagreement created this tension.
Yeah.
And it's not a small tension, but when you take it now into a grand level, a macro level, like a nation, that's why there was consistent rebellion against the Ottomans, until the Abbasids basically came and forced them out of governance
Against the Umayyads, and then
there was like literally a civil upheaval.
Yeah.
I mean, to a certain extent, basically they took over, quickly and swiftly. But after the Abbasids took over again, the rebelliousness continued. Why? Because somebody's coming and saying, I deserve to rule this nation and my kids and their kids, and nobody has a say. People say, no, the heck with you. That's not correct. That's not true.
Yeah.
So that creates, tension. And these tensions sometimes become into a fight, and the fight becomes into a war, and a war becomes, a destabilizing agent for the whole nation, which invites foreigners to come in.
Yeah.
And this is what happened.
And this is a little bit of another tangent. But how do you avoid a might makes right situation? Because somebody could easily look at the situation of our history and say, well, inevitably might will make right. If there could be a nice fancy theory about who should be in charge. But if the biggest baddest
But this
army,
is not a fancy theory. This is a divine revelation. God said that people should be chosen through shura to become leaders of the ummah.
Yeah.
But that's what makes us Muslim. What makes us Muslims, like we need to agree on la ilaha illallah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what happened, as we said, what happens is the ummah agrees on la ilaha illallah, but didn't agree on Muhammad Rasulullah and the successorship of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Because when we speak about the messenger, after he dies, there's successorship. So the point of the contention is successorship, which created the tension and the wars. But might is right should never be the case. Actually, nobody should accept that as a way to go. But because see, if you're not that mighty person, you can say, hey, why is this mighty person using his power to subjugate me?
Yeah.
So there will always be pushback. There will always be some resentment, even if it's not expressed politically or otherwise.
I see. So, I mean, we might not like to accept it, but isn't that the reality of our history? And that's the reality of history in general.
Sadly, from an Islamic perspective, yes. The vast majority of our history basically was through people who used their power to force themselves upon the ummah.
Yeah. And so the natural question becomes, how does that not be how do we avoid that being the case?
But see, the opposite of that also happened. Like we had a period which, even though it's short, but you had the Rasulullah ruling and you had the Khulafa al-Rashidin ruling, radiallahu anhum.
Yeah.
So we have an example, short or not, but we have an example where the ummah came in and respected the shura and chose people based upon a merit-based and process and consultation, and people were happy.
Yeah,
that's why we had no tension. That's why we've been able to. I always laugh. Historians always say, "How come these nomadic tribes came from the desert and took over two humongous millennial empires? Never happened. Will never happen. Also, right?
Yeah.
Except the Muslimin, basically, if they move. But the reason it does is because we have full agreement. There was no tension. There was no like left and right. It was a unified, cohesive nation that moves together, comes back together, jumps together, sits together. That's what it is.
I see.
That's the power. So when you have two teams, if you get an all-star team and make them play with another team that's cohesive, they usually lose. You put all the big boys together, but they don't have the chemistry. But you have a smaller cohesive team, even if it could be level 2, they would beat them because chemistry always beats individual skill set.
So if we look back at the Ottomans now, and what you essentially seem to be saying is that this shared vision, which is what enables the strength of a team or the strength of a nation, it will come under threat when there's like this gap in progress, prosperity, development between nations. Because now you have these young Turks who are looking at the Western model and they see that that's where the success is. Like they see that's the dominant civilization. And so now you have a new tension in society. Is that the case?
No, I wouldn't say that's the case only. What led to that case is misunderstanding of the Islamic Aqidah. The Islam became a religion. This is what happened before that.
Before that?
Yeah. What happened is basically in the 1800s, Islam became a religion to many people, even maybe before that even, to be honest.
How did that happen?
Well, how did that happen? Basically, when political power resides within a dynasty, and everybody is just told to just take care of your affairs, be a good Muslim. Sadly, it's what kind of like was implied for maybe a few hundred years before that. And then when the colonialists came in, and they introduced their value system and their ideas about how to form a nation and to prosper and to progress, some individuals basically fell for that. And then so the colonialists found mouthpieces within our own people to propagate their vision, especially basically when we're failing as a nation due to the way we were running the show and due to that crack that happened hundreds of years ago.
So if it's dynastic rule that creates an impression in the people that, politics is something you don't get involved in because it's the purview of the dynasty, and this creates the understanding that Islam is a religion implicitly?
Well, yeah, because it kind of does implicitly. When you don't have any political participation within the nation, well, what do you do then? You just take care of yourself and your family.
But that was the status quo since the Umayyads.
Exactly. But during the Umayyad, you still had basically the Tabi'een, and maybe even at one point in time the Sahaba radiallahu anhum and the Tabi'een after them, and the great scholars of Islam who understood Islam really as a political idea. So the oomph was still, the momentum was still there for hundreds of years.
I see.
Bit by bit, basically things started to basically grow a little bit, blurry. Now, I'm not saying this is the only reason. That's why I say it's implicit. So it's kind of like you can say, I don't want to say it's not a primary reason, but it is one of the reasons.
It set the stage, you could say. It set the stage.
It did set the stage, yeah. But there's another thing. After the Abbasids, after the first era of the Abbasids also basically was done, which is just before the Mongols, let's say. The first era was finished with the Mongols. Right? But let's say before that by a bit, the Abbasids decided to basically close the door of ijtihad.
And what does that mean?
So at one point in time, there was a decision, you can say like more of a government decision with some of the most elite scholars to close the door of ijtihad. Okay, what does that mean? That means basically they don't want new madhahib, and if you differ with the four madhahib, that opinion would be seen as unorthodox to a certain extent. But that's really it. Basically, they were saying, look, we should just follow the four madhabs, and these were the madhabs that we got from the Salaf al-Salih. Period. What that did implicitly, again, or indirectly, it discouraged scholarship. Okay, there's less investment. There's just focus on just like an understanding what the fatwas were within the madhab, and just work within the madhab to either verify, to defend. So really, sectarianism was built there, and the independent mind was kind of lost within an Islamic point of view, bit by bit. Things don't happen overnight.
So, like what I'm kind of getting from you is that with these four madhahib, there was this sort of institutionalism or gatekeeping of like, this is because we kind of have the answers now.
Yeah.
Was it felt like they had already answered all the questions? There was nothing new to think about?
That's basically what they felt, really.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, this would be a minority. Or at one point in time, bit by bit, became a majority through political socialization.
I see.
But I would say basically that the leaders of the madhab would never allow that, because they always encourage people to basically drop their opinion and just go with the evidence. That's what all the former imams of the four madhab have been quoted to say one way or another.
Okay, so I'm getting a picture now. Dynastic rule discouraged political participation.
Correct.
Closing of the gates of ijtihad discouraged intellectualism and scholarship.
Legal independence, yeah.
And so
there's
are those
more.
Yeah.
There's at least one major one, which is basically after now the Khilafah moved from the Abbasids to the Mamluks. And the Abbasids stayed there as just as a picture on the wall, really.
Yeah.
But the real rulers were the Mamluks. That's what we call the second history of the Abbasid Khilafah, right? The second part. There's part 1, part 2 type of thing. So the Mamluks were non-Arabs. And the Ottomans also were non-Arabs. So emphasis on the Arabic language declined dramatically. Okay?
Yeah.
And I would even argue basically later first Abbasid era. But at minimum, I'm saying here, basically, just want to put quick dirty lines on the sand, basically. So when the Arabic language was not emphasized, like look at the Umayyads, for example. And Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan himself basically made the Arabic the official language of all the Islamic land of the Umayyad Khilafah. So everybody, that's why wherever the Umayyad Khilafah went, people speak Arabic today. Like all of North Africa speaks Arabic, Morocco speaks Arabic, Algeria speaks Arabic, Egypt speaks Arabic, the Bilad al-Sham speaks Arabic, right?
Yeah.
These areas. And where the Abbasids basically kind of took over, they're Muslim. Arabic did not last. They encouraged Arabic, but Arabic didn't last.
Yeah.
But the Ottomans and the Mamluks, that's basically where there's Muslims who don't speak Arabic.
But make it explicit for us. Why was Arabic so important to progress?
Well, because if you don't understand the text, like right now, there's people who don't understand how to express La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. What is ibadah? Like even the Arabs right now, the Arabs don't understand it because sadly the cultural invasion due to secularizing Islam. But if you ask any person who will understand the language very well, this doesn't really mean that. It means that plus.
What is that?
Meaning basically, well, from their perspective, they focus on the religious side. They're like, it's religion plus a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it's really the other way around even. That's where the cultural invasion comes in and creates a blurry vision. Ibadah un ma'bud means basically a supreme authority. Yeah, supremacy. That's what it means. If you go back to the 7th century, you speak to an Arab nomad, and you like, let's say you found a nomad that speaks English, and tell him, yo, what's ibadah? He tells you, yo, it's sovereignty, and it's supremacy, right? Supremacy more than sovereignty, because supremacy is even bigger.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So supremacy, and ilah, you can say basically the only thing that the best way to explain ilah in English is a deity that has supremacy. Okay? Or divine supremacy. Let's put it this way. The word ilah, the best way to translate it into English is divine supremacy. So it's about supremacy.
Supremacy of the divine.
No. It's not like that. The word...
Like a sanctified supremacy.
Sanctified supremacy, exactly.
Okay, so...
Since there's only one creator, it becomes Allah is the only supreme.
Like we've been trying to understand things from both ends now. Like coming from some of the root causes and also trying to reverse engineer what happened to the Uthmani Khilafah or that last bastion of strength, right? And like we saw Sultan Abdul Hamid II, rahimahullah, like he really tried, I think, in those last years to counteract what was going on. But there was a sense of like, would you agree that the Ummah had reached a point of no return at that point?
Yeah, I would say. That's why I said basically, so what happened in the middle 1800s is that there was underground movements that was, some of them basically could be, naturally occurring and some definitely, without doubt, because history have now proved it, and everything is in the open now, that the Western embassies and the missionaries that were sent to the Muslim world played a role to develop an underground liberal political movement within the Ottoman areas.
Yeah.
Especially beside close to the capital. And the other thing is basically lost is that the elite children went to Europe to study, because now that's where the elite universities were, and they became liberalized. Imagine like an 18 years old, let's say pampered young man from Istanbul in the 1800s goes to Europe to study, let's say, mechanical engineering or physics or whatever it is. I mean, you need to understand, especially in France, it was like a brothel. I mean, France is always a brothel.
But wasn't the government aware of that threat? Like people going...
But don't forget, it's not about the government, but these are elite people. So, and they do want to basically kind of... they're not going to tell people don't go and learn, really. It's just they didn't understand the consequences.
I see.
And this shows basically the lack of ideological understanding of Islam from the Ottoman officials.
Yeah. Okay. So they're sending their kids there. They're coming back with these ideas.
And they organize them, and they started organizing them in Paris. So they organized them and they sent them back, and they published things in Paris, and they send it basically through their embassies, because they have diplomatic protection, and they would spread these newspapers, and they'll send one copy, and they'll have, let's say, printers, underground printers in the capital to now make lots of copies and distribute them. So they created networks and networks until people don't forget, like, they all came together. So people, due to the Arabic language, didn't understand Islam very well. Due to basically closing the door of ijtihad, scholars became very, very weak. They just memorize, and that's all what they do. And because of basically the lack of prosperity due to the political disenfranchisement of the Ummah, the Uthmani Khilaf became weaker economically and therefore technologically and militarily and so forth. So all these things came together in the 1800s, and now you have the rise of Europe, right, with this new ideological challenger to Islam. See, back then they were the challenger to Islam because we were the world power. So and that seeped in because they were rising, we were declining. So and with organization of these movements and training with the embassies, especially the British and the French and even the Dutch and so forth, and a few others, these people trickled up into the political establishment until they infiltrated it fully. And with Mustafa Kemal, basically, and other non-Muslims like him, basically, who also were in the government ranks, they just pushed Abdul Hamid, and they rebelled, and they took over the Khilafah, and they changed it, they cancelled it, and established a secular, liberal republic. And sorry, just say one more thing, just so you can understand how Arabic is so important. Even though the Turks didn't speak Arabic, the first thing that Mustafa Kemal did is to also not even allow Arabic alphabets, or even the adhan in the Arabic language. Look at how much, because they understand the power of language. We did not take care of our language since, let's say, 2060. When did we fall? Let's say 1860. That's when basically things were rotten, so to a certain extent. At 600 years of the Arabic language not being treated like a king. You just need to understand it's a long time where Arabic was not nurtured, was not used as the prime language, as the de facto language of a nation. So this was forgotten. That's why even the Arabic tongue right now within the Arab world is very weak. It didn't happen overnight.
So, like, taking all of this into account, let's say you were back in time in the mid 19th century, mid 1800s, and you had the ear of the Uthmani government. What could they do to turn the ship around, or was it already too late?
Well, look, Abdul Hamid almost did it. Subhanallah, but I don't want to even say that. It's just, I really love this man. I have a soft heart towards Abdul Hamid, rahimahullah, and is one of my favorite characters, and an amazing role model for Islam and Muslimin. It was sacrifice. But what needed to happen is what we need to do today. whether we have an establishment or not, because things were so rotten. What we need to do is we need to desecularize the Muslim mind. That's what we would have done back then. What we had to do, look, just because we had an institution, it would have been like different. Because if, let's say, I had the power of the government, I would have created basically revamped the whole educational institution, and would have I would have never let basically our children go to Europe, because I know they're gonna basically melt within that melting pot. I would have invited professors from over there, and vetted these professors and built universities here, and that's really it. You understand?
The language and bringing over.
Oh, definitely. Like, basically, like open the doors of ijtihad, reinvest in the Arabic language, but most importantly, basically understanding Islam ideologically and desecularizing the Muslim mind, and bringing basically, let's say, instead of not allowing basically this melting of our children within the new secular liberal world order.
Yeah.
So that's what it would do with all that, and definitely like lots of investment in science and technology, so we can catch up with the Europeans. So these are the four things I would do.
So desecularization, the Arabic language, opening up, reviving scholarship. Since 1909, when Abdul Hamid was out, has the Ummah made, how much progress has the Ummah made on these fronts? Enough.
Maybe we were worse today, right? Like we had a state, we lost it. That's number one. And number two, it's hard to speak about it. Definitely the Arabic language became worse. I mean, like it's just, there was a little bit, what they call a little bit of a revival of Arabic, a little bit, but not too much. And definitely the scholarship, there is definitely lots of people in the Ummah reject the restrictions of such a demand, and everybody wants to do ijtihad and so forth. But again, these are they're not nationwide. There are lots of people basically want to close the door of ijtihad. People, or at least they hide behind, because they know the door of ijtihad is a big thing. So they say, well, no, we allow ijtihad, but they put 300 constraints that nobody can really do it. And they laugh behind the scenes saying, well, there's a mujtahid mutlaq happens every 1,000 years, or so they'll just always just keep beating anybody who tries. And so that's today the Ummah still thinks Islam is just a religion, as a majority of the Ummah today.
But I think this discussion is so important, because when you understand the history, you understand those causes which actually led to the loss of power, that immediately suggests what those action items are, like what needs to happen now in order for the Ummah to revive. Like those things that we mentioned.
Yeah, I think if you get those four things right, you're going to be in a very good shape.
Yeah. Like, and I mean, I guess I had a question here. It's a little bit of a thinking question, which is this intellectual invasion that we kind of lost. Like if there was an ideological war with the West, it's kind of tough to admit, even though we had Islam, we kind of lost there.
But don't forget, we lost a battle. We didn't, because alhamdulillah, there was a revival. You don't forget that in the 1970s and the 1980s, we had the Islamic awakening.
Yeah.
So what happened is basically we regained our trust in Islam as a faith. That's what happened. But because we lost that in the 30s and the 40s, we lost even Islam as a faith. Atheism was everywhere. Communism was everywhere. Nationalism was everywhere. Arab nationalism was everywhere. Liberalism was secular liberalism was actually everywhere. More than today. Today you don't have like real liberals. The Ummah have shoved them aside.
Yeah.
You have modernist Islamists.
So you have people going back to the masjid. You have people
definitely
putting the hijab back on.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Which you didn't see, like the streets of, like I remember you.
But that's
saying,
the faith. That's the religion. We almost lost the religion of Islam basically in the 30s and the 40s. You see what I'm saying? In the 50s. What we did, we regained the religion of Islam by the awakening. Today we just need to revive the real Islam.
That shared common vision.
With that creates definitely a shared common vision, because it is a political philosophy.
Okay. Barakallah feek, Sheikh. I think that really helps our viewers understand what the future holds. And hopefully this desecularized Islam, that's what we're all about, right? That piece of reopening the understanding that Muslims have, reviving their understanding of how Islam does create a shared common vision. It's not just about your individual faith, it's about what makes us a nation. So barakallah feekum for watching today, and we'll see you in the next episode where we continue to dissect and diagnose how we think today and re-evaluating those patterns of thought from a desecularized perspective. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum.